Welcome to the Euro Den, your cozy corner for all things Eurovision. Now, please make yourselves comfortable, settle in, and welcome the Den Master of this podcast, your host, Joseph Mendy.
Ahoy, my dear friends. Yes, I'm saying hello in Czech today. Welcome, one and all. You are listening to the Euro Den, the podcast that tries to make sense of all the edges and vertices of this massive music mesh that is the Eurovision Song Contest. Joseph Mendy reporting for duty as per usual, and this is what I have on the agenda for today's show. We'll be getting acquainted with this year's Eurovision mascot and introducing our green room host for the 3 live shows. There's also a guide of things to see and do in Vienna during the week of the contest, all that plus a look at some ongoing selections for this year's Junior Eurovision Song Contest. Are you sitting comfortably? Good, then we'll begin. We are now officially in the month of May. You know what that means? Yes, that means we are officially in Eurovision month. I know, crazy, right? But it's true. We are almost there. The 70th anniversary edition of the Eurovision Song Contest of 2026 is approaching quicker than plates of food being sent back from the dining room in Hell's Kitchen. That's how rapidly close we're getting to that big week in Vienna that will see the coronation of a new champion. The shows this year will be hosted by Michael Ostrowski and Victoria Swarovski. That we already know. But they won't have all of the hosting to themselves because they will be joined by a green room host. What is a green room, I hear you ask? Well, in a nutshell, it's where the artists sit with their national delegations whilst waiting for the results. The artists get ready for their performance backstage in what's known as a delegation bubble. And then after their performance, they head to the green room where they stay for the rest of the show. Well, we now know that the green room host for Eurovision 2026 is Emily Buswein. Now, those of you who watched Austria's national final Vienna Calling versus for Österreich back in February may have already gotten acquainted with Emily because she was the international commentator on that particular night. She was born in Vienna in 1996. This is her profile clock, by the way, that I'm doing now. Born in Vienna in 1996, is of mixed English and Austrian descent. She grew up in Berlin, Germany, Warsaw, Poland, and Moscow, Russia, and studied political science and social anthropology. I think I've got that, nearly stumbled with that one. Anthropology at the University of Cambridge in England, here in the United Kingdom. In 2018, she returned to Vienna to study a master's at the Diplomatic Academy of Vienna. She started working for Austrian broadcaster ORF's youth radio station FM4 in 2020 as an intern before going on to become a radio presenter and reporter. And she currently hosts the radio station's morning show. Commenting on her new role, Emily Buswein said, and I quote, "It feels like it was just yesterday that we announced and interviewed Victoria and Michael, this year's main hosts, on the morning show. So getting that call was a surprise, to say the least. I'm trying not to think about it too much, honestly. It's one thing to stand in a radio studio with a microphone and to know in an abstract sense that people are listening to you. But to be on live TV is a wholly different endeavour. I just want to make sure that everyone feels comfortable and has a good time." So, confirmation of Emily Buswein will be our green room host for 2026. On the subject of the green room this year, it's been stylized in the theme of a Viennese coffee house, a nod to Vienna's coffee house culture, which has been listed as intangible cultural heritage by UNESCO. And this year, the green room will be directly linked to the main stage via a walkway, meaning that for the act that eventually gets crowned champion by you, our viewers at home, and the national juries in each and every country, which, let's remind you, has been expanded to 7 juries, and 2 of those juries have to be between 18 and 25. When that winner gets crowned, The winner's walk will go through the standing audience on the floor. This makes a change from the previous years where the winner had to trek through the backstage area, not the delegation bubble, but another area backstage from the green room behind the stage, even as much as going down the stairs in the upper tier audience just to get to the stage. As you saw with JJ last year, because the green room was all the way at the back, and the only way to get from the green room stage was to go down the steps through the audience, eventually make it to the arena floor, and eventually get into the stage. At least with this year, with the green room and the stage linked, that winner's walk should be a bit of a breeze. Right? Anyway, talking of the main stage, this year's main stage, designed by renowned German designer and producer Florian Wieder, who has done many Eurovision stages in the past, consists of an LED surface in the shape of a curved leaf, a sweeping arc, and an elaborate structure. They convey three design leitmotifs. The leaf, a symbol of origin and potential. It stands for new beginnings and shared design. Diverse music from all over Europe is written on it. The curved line, an expression of resonance, development, and musical movements. Resonance, development, and musical movements. It embodies connection, emotion, and Viennese charm. And the construct, a golden structure that connects art with functionality. It creates order, supports artistic vision, and forms a deliberate contrast to the organic curved line. We also had a look at the lighting design for this year's contest, which was done by BAFTA award-winning lighting designer Tim Weltledge, who previously did lighting for the 2023 contest in Liverpool and last year's contest in Basel. And earlier this week, earlier and last week rather, I think it was, in true Christmas light switch-on style, the Eurovision 2026 stage was finally brought to life in the Vienna Stadthalle, the venue that will stage the event. The direction of the contest will be inspired by Hollywood with the use of Auri cameras for the first time ever. Auri cameras are renowned for their superior image quality, natural colour science, and rugged durability, and are considered an industry standard for high-end cinema. These Auri cameras will give the live shows a stylish cinematic look. This will make more sense when the shows are broadcast. You'll have to tune into the shows on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday to see for yourselves. The theme music for the contest this year has been composed by Dorothy Freiberger and Martin Gellner, and is a reinterpretation of selected themes from the Magic Flute, an opera composed by Austrian composer Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart.
You're listening to the Euro Den, the cozy corner of the Eurovision Song Contest.
Would you believe me if I told you that Eurovision has an official mascot? Well, I can tell you that it is very true. This ain't no lion, no porcupine, no cap. Just like with the Olympic Games, Eurovision also has a mascot as part of the festivities. The very first mascot was at the Eurocat, which was seen during the 1990 contest in Zagreb, in what was Yugoslavia at the time. Then we had the Eurobird for the 1992 contest. We wouldn't get another mascot of the contest until Turin 2022, 30 years later, when we would be introduced to Leo the drone. Last year, we had a heart-shaped gender-neutral character called Lumo as the mascot for Basel 2025. This year's mascot for Vienna is a male pink and purple character called Auri. He is described by Austrian broadcaster ORF as a symbol of unity, creativity, and the power of shared experiences. This big fluffy guy wears a pair of yellow Bluetooth over-ear headphones and an Austrian heart belt bag. He's already been busy in Austria on the reading tour with author Yvonne Lacina Blaha, who wrote the official children's book of Eurovision 2026, Auri, Die Show seines Lebens, the show of his life. He's been visiting children and families, doing some storytelling, and appeared in ORF children's programming and at the Vienna City Marathon. Very soon, Auri will be out and about during Eurovision week, welcoming fans and delegations from all corners of the world, with an aim to enable cultural participation for children and introduce them to the creative world of the Eurovision Song Contest. And you might get a picture with him if you happen to be in Vienna for Eurovision and are lucky enough to catch Auri on your travels. Speaking of travelling, the 35 national delegations have been made in their pilgrimages to Vienna. Those now performing in semi-final 1 were the ones making the earliest arrivals, with the countries in semi-final 2 flying out a day or so later. The automatic qualifiers are the last to touch down in Vienna, as they won't be rehearsing until tomorrow, with Cosmo having the shortest journey of all. In fact, I have the rehearsal schedule here, so let's run that down now. But first, let me just explain how the rehearsals work. So each country has 2 rehearsals each. The first rehearsal and the second rehearsals are both closed to the press. Before the first rehearsal, each country gets instructions on safety. The dressing room area is presented, and there will be an in-ear monitoring rehearsal backstage. After the first rehearsal, each delegation goes to the viewing room to see the recording of the rehearsal. Here, any changes on visuals, camera work, and choreography, etc. will be discussed. After this, there will be a makeup consultation. After the second rehearsal, each country goes to the viewing room again to see the result. And small adjustments can be made if they wish to. So the rehearsals began on last Saturday, and it was the first half of semi-final 1 that were rehearsing that day. Then on Sunday, we had the second half of semi-final 1 rehearsing. On Bank Holiday Monday, it was no West for the Wicked, as semi-final 2's first half had their first rehearsal. And yesterday, it was the second half of semi-final 2 that had their first rehearsal. Today is the start of the second rehearsals for the first 10 countries performing in semi-final 1, which means the other 5 countries, the last remaining 5 countries from semi-final 1, will have their second rehearsal tomorrow, as well as the first rehearsals for the automatic qualifiers. There's been Italy, Germany, France, the United Kingdom, and Austria. The first 10 acts from semi-final 2 have their second rehearsal on Friday, and then this Saturday, the last 5 countries from semi-final 2, as well as the automatic qualifiers, will have their second rehearsal. And after the big 4 have their second rehearsal, they will draw lots to determine whether they perform in the first half or the second half of the grand final. Or they could be placed absolutely anywhere with the return of the producer's choice, assuming that's still a thing for this year. This is if one draws producer's choice, they could be placed absolutely anywhere in the running order, from between 1st and 24th. So anywhere between slot 1 and slot 24. The reason why I didn't mention slot 25 is because, well, that slot was already taken by Austria's Cosmo, because that was the slots that they randomly drawn from and the headed in a draw that took place during the heads of delegation meeting, what feels like forever ago now, back in March. One more thing to add is that as the second rehearsals are closed to the press, they don't get a look at what the performances will look like. Although that doesn't last that way for long, because we get to see a short selection of pictures of each country's performances. Those photos are taken by the EBU's content team, which is led by Corinne Cumming and Sarah Louise Bennett. So both Corinne Cumming and Sarah Louise Bennett would lead the EBU content team who cover the contest for the EBU, which captures taking pictures and capturing all the shots from everything from rehearsals to the grand final. The photos that the team shoots during rehearsals, a short selection of photos are uploaded to the Eurovision social channels for the first rehearsals only. Now, those photos are released 24 hours after each country has had their first rehearsals. So say, for instance, the first half of semi-final one had their first rehearsals on Saturday. The photos from those rehearsals were released the following day on Sunday. And at that point, the second half of semi-final one will be having their rehearsals as well. For the second rehearsals, though, there will be a short snippet, a short video clip of what the performances look like in action. But those will be chosen at the delegation's discretion.
Come on in and get comfortable in the Euroden.
But it's not just the artists and their respective delegations that have been booking flights to Vienna, sorting out their hotels and Airbnbs and whatnot. Eurovision fans from every nook and cranny of planet Earth will be travelling to the Austrian capital to take in the hustle and bustle of the Eurovision Song Contest. Tickets went on sale way back in January and were sold out in a flash. Live grand final tickets sold out in 14 minutes. Live semi-final tickets vanished off the virtual shelves in 20 minutes after sales opened. Tickets for the previous shows have also went away super quickly. It's worth pointing out that there are a total of 9 shows that make up Eurovision week. 3 jewellery shows, 3 family shows, and of course, the 3 all-important live shows. The jewellery shows, also known as evening previews, are held on Monday, Wednesday and Friday. These are full run-through dress rehearsals that are held in the evening, but it's in these shows where all the national juries cast their votes. So 50% of the overall results are decided in these particular shows. So as it's in theory a dress rehearsal, it would be in the best interest for the artists and their countries to treat those particular dress rehearsals as if they are performing live in an actual broadcast. Those shows start at 8 p.m. British Summertime, 9 p.m. Central European Summertime, just like the actual broadcast. Then you have the family shows, aka the afternoon previews. Those take place on Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday and are also dress rehearsals, but these are held in the afternoon, typically starting at 2 p.m. BST, 3 p.m. CEST for the semi-finals, and 12:30 p.m. UK time and 1:30 p.m. Central European Summertime for the final. You still have the full length of the show with hosts, performances, intervals, stage effects, and the play out of the voting sequence. However, these specific shows are more designed for families and more younger fans to attend the show, meaning they get to experience everything from a Eurovision show without finishing very late at night. No votes of any sort are cast in these family shows, so I guess that these shows can in theory be treated like genuine dress rehearsals. It's the last chance for the artists to rehearse on stage before the live shows later in the evening. On that note, a few hours after the family shows, we then have the shows that really matter. The live shows. Taking place on Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday, of course, and starting at 8 p.m. British Summertime and 9 p.m. Central European Summertime. These shows are what everything comes down to, and it's during these live shows that the other 50% of the official results are determined by the viewers' votes, and it's also in the live shows that the actual results are announced, including how the juries have voted in the jury final that took place the night before. But in the semi-finals, we have the results announced are a combination of both the national juries and the viewers' votes. And speaking of which, on those semi-finals qualifying announcements, last year, a new format was tried out in which the countries would be brought into the spotlight 3 at a time, and then it's from a particular trio. One country qualifies for the grand final. The other 2 countries are thrown back into the pool and could be brought back in for another place to try again. This process was done for the first 9 spots, and then for the 10th and final spot, that was a free-for-all. But not this year, though, because an exclusive was obtained by ESC Discord, we have obtained information that the semi-final qualifying announcements format is set to revert to the traditional approach, with the hosts revealing each act individually in randomized order. So it's going back to the standard formats that we had previously before 2025, and that every spot is a free-for-all. So that's been reverted. But in terms of the fans that will be there in the arena to actually see the announcement play out and all the happenings of the contest, it has now been confirmed that a total of 95,000 tickets across the 9 shows, family, jury and live shows, have been sold, with fans and supporters from over 75 countries and territories around the world and across the Commonwealth digging deep into their savings to buy tickets to watch the show at the Vienna Stadthalle. Here are the top 10 tickets buying countries for 2026, which I found in the Eurovision app. Austria is number 1. And number 1 is Austria, because they're the host countries, so that checks out. And number 2 is Germany, their neighbours. And number 3 is the United Kingdom. And number 4, it's Switzerland, that hosted last year's event. At number 5, we've got the United States. At number 6, we've got France. At number 7, Australia. We've got fans coming in from the other side of the world. Czechia at number 8. And then number 9 and number 10 are Slovakia and the Netherlands. This is despite the very fact that Slovakia haven't participated in the contest since about 2012. And the Netherlands are sitting this year's contest out as a way of boycotting in response to Israel's participation. Despite that, we've got Slovakian and Dutch fans flying in for the contest, as well as fans from those aforementioned countries. There are also fans that will be making the trip from countries like Brazil, Mexico, Japan, South Korea, United Arab Emirates, Hong Kong, Canada, New Zealand, and many more. But it's not just the destination that matters, it's what you do when you get there. And on that particular note, here's a city guide of what you can get up to during Eurovision week. Let me find the host city guide. Here it is. Bam. Here's the host city guide for Vienna 2026. The Eurovision village will once again become one of the main focus points of Eurovision week, with welcoming up to 15,000 fans between the 10th and the 17th of May, as the Eurovision village will open its doors at the Rathausplatz with free admission to all. This will be opening from Sunday the 10th of May, so this Sunday, and that's the day of the opening ceremony on the turquoise carpet. Think of it as the start of the competition, like the Olympics. They'll have their massive opening ceremony, which often comes with the lighting of the Olympic flame, the Olympic cauldron. It was not as massive or as grand as that, but this is the main starting point, the launch pad of Eurovision 2026. As the largest public meeting point for fans, the Eurovision Village offers a full week of varied programming with daily live concerts from a range of Eurovision stars, as well as DJs and interactive events on offer. Besides performances from current and former Eurovision participants, plus other acts, the 3 live shows from this year's contest will be broadcast live from the Vienna Stadthalle onto 15 screens at the Rathausplatz on the aforementioned 12th, 14th, 16th of May. There will be 14 food stands that will offer Viennese and international cuisine and additional attractions on and around the main stage, including Eurovision turquoise carpets, photo points, a digitally enhanced karaoke booth, and a Eurovision quiz hosted by Robert Steiner. The opening hours for the village are from 2 o'clock Central European Time, or 1 o'clock here in the UK, but we're using Central European Summer Time because that's the Eurovision village is located in Austria. 2 o'clock Central European Time to midnight Central European Summer Time, or up until the end of the live shows. On Thursday, the 14th of May, the day of semi-final 2, it will open earlier at 11 a.m, while on Sunday, the 17th of May, a day after the grand final, bless me, it will close earlier at 7 o'clock Central European Time. Now, we also, as well as that, there is also the Euro Club. This will be from Monday the 11th to Saturday the 16th of May. And it will be held at the Prater Dome, which will be transformed into the official Euro Club, the nightly meeting place for fans, artists and delegations. Throughout the week, host Eric Papilaya, which one is pronounced, will guide audiences through 6 themed nights. A wide range of Austrian Eurovision stars, international performers, and Eurovision DJs will serve up entertainment for attendees, while both the semi-finals and the grand final will be broadcast live inside the club. For Vienna 2026, Euro Club is expanding its offerings with 2 daytime events. One on Friday the 15th of May, which is the Golden Years Party, which will be catering towards long-time Eurovision enthusiasts, celebrating the evergreens, the classics, and the all-time greats, accompanied by performances from Austrian Eurovision icons. And then another on the day of the grand final, Saturday 16th of May, Europe's largest Eurovision Kids Disco. This is more designed for children aged 6 to 12 and featuring performance by this year's Eurovision mascot, Auri, who I introduced to you earlier in the show. And of course, I mentioned the opening ceremony and the turquoise carpet a little earlier. That will be taking place on Sunday, the 10th of May, as I already mentioned, and will be the starting point of Eurovision week. And it will be the only moments where all 35 delegations appear together. So in the entire Eurovision week, the only time where we'll see all 35 competing artists together in one place will be at that turquoise carpet. After that, all the artists will see, the artists will only be able to see each other in their respective semi-finals, or if they make it to the grand final, their fellow finalists. But the artists from semi-final 1 won't see the artists from semi-final 2 after the opening ceremony. From that there on, the artists will see each other from their respective semi-finals and not another person more. Anyway, these delegations will walk from the Berg Theatre across the turquoise carpet towards the City Hall. This will be done in alphabetical order, with the exception of Austria, because as tradition, the host country will be the last country to walk the carpet. They'll be welcomed by the Woodstock All-Star Band, which will play music that represents their country, with the ceremonial touch applied by the ORF Radio Symphony Orchestra. The event is set to culminate with last year's winner JJ performing his song "Wasted Love" with the RSO Vienna. There will be room for up to 30,000 spectators, and the whole experience will be broadcast live on ORF1 and streamed on the Eurovision YouTube channel from 5 o'clock Central European Summertime. That'll be 4 o'clock here in the UK. The Wien Museum will become the Eurofan House, again from Monday to the 11th to Saturday 16th of May, serving as the song contest hub for fans, performers and the international Eurovision community. The programme includes interviews with this year's artists, conducted by Eurovision fan site ElevenLabs, and panel discussions, talks, lectures and activities organised by OGA Austria, the official Austrian Eurovision fan club. Entry is free of charge, and Eurofan House is open from Monday to Saturday, as I mentioned, between 10 a.m. and 7 p.m. Central European Summertime. And additional programme details will have already been published by ElevenLabs and OGA Austria's Euro social media channels. And then there is the Eurofan cafes. There's going to be plenty of espresso macchiato, a nod to Tommy Cash's third-placing song for Estonia last year, to go around in Vienna as the capital's celebrated coffee house culture showcased proudly to the rest of the world in a major way. Between now, from Monday the 3rd to Sunday the 17th of May, so basically right now at the time of this podcast, so between now and Sunday the 17th of May, selected Vienna coffee houses will transform into official Eurofan cafes. Each participating coffee house will represent one, or in some cases two, of the 35 countries taking part, becoming a gathering place for delegations, fans, and if luck is on your side, the artists taking part in the competition. The initiative by Vienna's coffee house owners, Echo Medienhaus and Broadcaster ORF, merges the storied Viennese coffee house culture with the welcoming unity of Europe's largest music competition, creating a memorable meeting points for fans from all over the world. I'll find that list of the cafes to take part. So there are 21 coffee houses that are being turned into Eurofan cafes. Let me run down the list now. Cafe Museum will be themed around Croatia and Latvia. Cafe Kunz, Switzerland. Cafe Illes, Estonia and Italy. Cafe Rimar, Malta and Poland. Cafe Diglas, Belgium, Montenegro. Crossfields Australia Pub will be housing, well, surprise, surprise, Australia. Cafe Mozart, Sweden and Cyprus. This might be a tough one for me to pronounce. Skamster Dina, I've totally messed that one up, but that will house Finland. Cafe Phil, Bulgaria. Cafe Française, Georgia. Cafe Sluka, Moldova and Norway. Cafe Landman, the United Kingdom and San Marino. Chattanooga and Vienna Stadbrau, Ukraine. Cafe Ronhuber, Armenia and Greece. Gertzner, KUK, Hofzucker Baccarat, long one for me there. Denmark and Austria. Cafe Schopenhauer, Romania and Serbia. Cafe Schwarzenberg, Albania and Czechia. Cafe Weschwanz-Hummel, Azerbaijan and Germany. Cafe Sperl, France and Lithuania. Cafe Goldegg, Luxembourg and Portugal. And MQ Canteen, Israel. Museums and cultural hotspots will also be integrating the Eurovision Song Contest into their programming. This includes the House of Austrian History, the Natural History Museum, the Bronski Grunberg Theatre, and Eurovision events hosted by the Volksoper, the Technical Museum and Nash Market, as well as daily Eurovision cruises, city walks and family events. This includes exhibition showcasing iconic objects from Austria's Eurovision history, Voices of Nature, an interactive exhibition devised especially for Vienna, with 35 objects, each representing one participating country, and a humorous tribute to the early Eurovision decades of the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And the performers will cover 13 songs, 13 countries, and 13 conductors, and a multilingual moderator team, live voting, and performances celebrating the beginnings of the contest. Public viewings have long been a central part of the Eurovision host city experience, and Vienna will be no different. A range of official partner events will carry the title Official Eurovision Song Contest Public Viewing, with 26 public viewings planned in the city of Vienna, with 19 other events taking place across the west of Austria, one of the largest being hosted at the Messe Dornbirn in Vorarlberg. Screenings will also be available to anyone attending the Eurovision Village and Euroclub on the 12th, 14th, 16th of May. And Austrian broadcaster ORF and with ÖBB, Austrian Federal Railways, the National Rail Network, is actively promoting rail travel as the primary way to reach the Eurovision Song Contest 2026, whether that's from the airport to the city or from elsewhere in Austria or neighbouring countries. For Vienna 2026 ticket holders arriving by plane, a 25% discount on the city airport train will be available to promote a lower emission travel option. And through targeted information, partnerships and travel incentives, those travelling into Vienna from other parts of Austria and surrounding regions will be encouraged to use public transport, making significant contributions to reducing overall emissions. So clearly they're doing their bit to promote sustainability and combating climate change here. Vienna's public transport system will play a key role in helping Eurofans visiting the city being able to get around, with additional signage will providing clear orientation, while major hub stations will feature special announcements such as Rathaus, the Eurovision Village, Waterstern Euroclub, and Urban Loritzplatz Eurovision main venue. Welcome announcements will be given in 5 languages: German, English, Spanish, Italian, and French, and staff in special Eurovision vests will be clearly visible and available for assistance. Train and tram intervals will be increased during the week, and around 550 trams will be decorated with Eurovision Song Contest banners. The U2 Metro line will officially become the official Song Contest line, directly connecting key locations such as Rathaus, Paterstern, and Karlsplatz. So that is it. I appreciate that this is quite a lengthy segment of this particular episode of the podcast here, but that is just a guide for those travelling to Vienna, so all that they can see and do whilst visiting the host country and the host city of this year's 70th anniversary Eurovision Song Contest, which is all set to be an event for everyone, as both the Austrian broadcaster ORF and the city of Vienna have announced their commitment to ensuring full inclusivity and accessibility across all Eurovision-related events that are planned to take place as the world descends upon the country's capital over the next week or so.
From Eurovision to Junior Eurovision and all the tidbits in between, it's all here in the Euroden. Want even more Eurovision goodness? Follow the Euroden on Instagram @Euroden_pod.
Now, I have made more changes to my ranking in the past few days, but I might make a few more either today or within the next few days before I officially lock in my ranking for Eurovision 2026 before the live shows. And once I've locked in that ranking, I won't make any more changes. But I'm not going to share my ranking with you today. I'll save that for the next episode. For now, let's turn to Junior Eurovision. Still very early days regarding JESC, but news regarding Eurovision's little brother often drops by sparingly in the months even before the adult contest one rolls around. Unfortunately, the news that came by was not positive, as yet another country announced their non-participation, with Estonia confirming that they will not be competing in the contest later this year. This is due to budget constraints, as stated by Mart Luke, a board member at Estonian broadcaster ERR rather. I'm not sure what I was saying there. ERR, the Estonian broadcaster, he stated the following: due to budget constraints, we have decided not to participate in this year's Junior Eurovision Song Contest 2026. We hope that our budget situation will improve in the coming years and we will be able to return. It's worth noting that ERR has had to make some budget cuts in recent years, which did involve having to withdraw from last year's Junior Eurovision and downsizing their Eurovision national selection, Estilau, from a multi-show format with semi-finals and a final to just the one final show. Estonia joins a long list of countries that won't be competing in JESC this year. Hopefully we'll see Estonia back in the game in the near future. Turning to some of the countries that have intentions to take to the JESC stage. In previous years, Poland used Chanson of Success as their national selection for Junior Eurovision, and at one point in 2020 was their selection for the Adults contest too. But it's been mainly used for the Junior contest up until 2024. Last year they did a internal selection with Mariana Kloss getting the nod, but this year Polish broadcaster TVP have a new selection method as they are using their version of The Voice Kids as their way of selecting their singer. They're not the only ones using The Voice Kids as their selection method, as Portugal also use the show as their go-to selection. But whilst Poland have only started using The Voice Kids as their selection, Portugal have been using it for a number of years now. For those that have never watched The Voice before, it's a show where hopeful singers perform in front of a panel of judges known as coaches. But the coaches have their backs to the stage and they don't see the singer right away. So they are judging based solely on the voice and voice alone. If a coach likes what they hear, they press their web button and their chair spins around so that the coach sees the person they turn for. Just one turn is all a singer needs to earn a place on the coach's team and advance to the next round, which is normally the battles, where the artists in the team compete against each other and the coach chooses one to go to these latter rounds, eventually gets to the live shows, and then a winner is determined. The Voice Kids Portugal started its blind auditions a few weeks ago, so they're still ongoing, but The Voice Kids Poland, it's reaching its climax, with the final taking place this Saturday. The battles saw the coaches saw their teams down to 3 finalists in their teams. These finalists won their respective battles and then went on to win their sing-offs, where they took on the other battle winners. Here are the finalists, assuming I can find them, and apologies for any inevitable mispronunciations. The 3 coaches on The Voice Kids Poland, by the way, are Blanca, Cleo, and Tribs. All have connections with the Eurovision Song Contest. And these are the finalists that they have chosen. On Team Blanca, the finalists are Ania Jankowska, Antozia Gobelna, and Alan Lubinsky. In Team Cleo, Leon Skorupski, Ola Platt, and Olivia Johnson. And on Team Tribs, Amelka Legzika, Victor Sass, and Leon Paulikowski. Those are the finalists. One of them, and the winner of the final, of Saturday's final, will go forth to represent Poland at Junior Eurovision. So JESC 2026 will get its first confirmed contestant before we commence with the Eurovision live shows in Vienna. But what about Georgia? Well, Wanina has been powering through and has completed the first 2 tours since our last podcast episode. Let's take stock of the standings from Tour 1 and Tour 2. But I'll be saving the results for Tour 3 for the next episode. Just first, a reminder of the singers taking part in this series. Nita Nabashvili, Luka Mikadze, David Lomidze, Liliana Chechenidze, Thomas Tsakadze, Luka Guturishvili, Anna Maria Kukishvili, Zurab Nakidashvili, Anna Tavgridze, and Elizabeth Zadzamia. Those are the 10 singers. All singers scored a maximum score of 120 points in the first tour. Now, each singer gets a score from rated out of 10 on 4 key categories of judging criteria: vocals, performance, artistry, and collaboration. Each carries a maximum score of 10 for an overall maximum score of 40 from each judge. So the total maximum you can get from the entire panel is 120, which is what they all managed to do in the first tour. But there have been some differences on the second tour, which was the singers covering Georgian folk music, joined by the group Shavnabada for this particular tour. After 2 rounds, this was the the ranking at the minute. At the moment, Luca, Anna, Elizabeth, and Liliana all scored 240 points, as did Nita. Then Toma scored 239. Zorab 238. Luca M 238 as well. 237 Anna Maria, and 236 for David. Got Luke G in the lead after Tour 2. Now, Tour 3 got underway last Saturday, with world hits, international music being the theme, with each act performing alongside the bookmarks. But I'll do Tour 3 on the next episode. The Netherlands have also been moving along with their Junior Eurovision selection, as Junior Song Festival has moved into the final auditions round. Of all the things that took part from the workshops back in March, feels like a long time ago now, we saw part 1 of the final auditions, where the singers performed covers for a jury and a live audience. We saw 17 singers taking part in these final auditions. They are Emily, Yana, Sam, Liana, Zoe, Sep, Lynn, Linda, Troy, Indy, Emma Sophie, Caitlin, Jessie, Nora, Feda, Lisa, and Marissa. This week, part 2 of the final auditions will be uploaded on the Junior Song Festival YouTube channel. Good grief, a lot of juice squeezed out there, but that juice has now run dry, so it's time for me to bid you adieu. But not before my usual reminder to check out our Instagram page at Euroden_pod for more Eurovision related tidbits, and to also leave a rating and review wherever you are listening. I'll check in with you again on Sunday, all being well, where we'll be checking out some poll results and look at some stats before we jump into the big shows in Vienna. Oh, and look at Junior Eurovision's first contestant. Hope to see you then, but for now, as they say in Albania, Miru Pafshim. Go for the mass has ended.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Euroden. We'll see you in the den next time.